and welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod. I am Ewan Smorgasbord.
And I am Jim with a G.
Today we watched the episode that actually we also have both seen before, so...
Yes, but it's the one everyone has seen, so I think we're kind of excused on this one.
Yeah, but I did apparently, and I barely listened back to this at some point, lie on an earlier episode about having seen that one. I think it was Striking Vipers, actually.
Wait, what? Wait, you hadn't seen this one?
I have seen this one, but I was lying about it earlier by accident.
You were suggesting you hadn't seen this one.
Exactly, because I didn't remember, because I didn't think of it as Black Mirror.
Right, and I think we have reasons for that, do we not?
Well, shall we begin by telling our dear listeners whether to listen to this episode?
We shall, and yeah.
You should listen to this episode. Should
You
you watch
listen
the
to this
TV show?
Well, yeah, I think so.
I guess, yeah,
I think it's pretty good.
It's a classic, I guess.
It's very gay. Like, if
It's not that gay.
Editing Jurgen here to drop off the content warnings. This episode deals with death in various ways, from old age to cancer to euthanasia to the car accidents, and also some suicidal ideation. So if any of those hit the bad buttons for you, think twice. Though it's not that rough an episode. Unless it hits something targeted.
Jurgen, you do not realize this is the core of what it is like to be a lesbian. I say, as a bisexual woman.
Oh, I thought this was a good heterosexual Christian podcast.
Well, yeah, it's about two very close roommates, and yeah.
Yeah.
We can just run through a couple of lesbian jokes if you want. I mean, I don't know. I like. Okay.
I mean, it is very nice that you can have a roommate in the afterlife.
It is very cool. And that, as the episode states, that they're no longer that uptight about two women being roommates.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot of obvious jokes here, but I will just say, before we get into any more depth to this, I think if you're a lesbian and you're online a lot, this will fit very neatly into your cultural sphere.
Yeah, and if you're not, you can learn something about lesbian culture.
It's still a pretty good episode, Jordan.
Yeah, no, like it's, I think it's still Black Mirror.
What's still Black Mirror? I don't know, I don't think this is... Okay, I guess we should just get into it, right? We should just get into it.
Let's do a quick summary. This episode, very briefly, is about two women meeting in, well, what seems like the 70s, 80s, 90s. We're not...
I looked up the Wikipedia plot summary. It does claim that the first scene, if you will, is in 1987.
Okay.
So I don't know what... We'll get to that, but I guess it's not important.
So they meet in the, late 80s in a nightclub, and they're like, oh man, what if we kissed? And then a week later they meet, and they're like, we need to kiss right now, because there's some plot mechanics happening that are preventing us from meeting during the week. Those plot mechanics will eventually be sort of... It's fairly slow. It'll be revealed to be that this is the mind-uploaded afterlife life simulation, and that some people, old people, get to hang out to, acclimatize and keep themselves from being sad that they're old.
Also, notably, to keep themselves from being sad that they're dead.
Yeah, well, that's the other ones.
Yeah. Apparently those are the two groups here.
Yeah. And
it's good for Alzheimer's, and it's good for the, undead.
Yeah. And these women are like, oh man, what if we kissed? And then they hook up in the next week, and then one of them disappears and sort of keeps logging into different time periods to hide from her romance lady. And, well, she gets chased down and confronted, and she's like, oh man, I didn't want to catch feelings.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for this. But, we had a gazing dance floor scene, so we know that a lot of feelings were caught. And, they sort of coax each other about one another's situation, and it eventually becomes clear that one of them is dying of cancer, and the other one is quadriplegic, I believe is the word.
Yeah, I want to say it looks like she's in a coma. Like, quadriplegic just means you can't use your arms or legs, but she also can't speak or do anything, but I guess she can hear. So
She's
it's not...
turbo quadriplegic.
Yeah, she's quadriplegic plus.
Yeah, she is fully paralyzed entirely.
Do you think this is one of those things where we should, like, know about terminology before we dive into an episode?
No, that
Okay,
that would
yeah,
make this
agreed.
work.
Agreed.
We're podcasters. We're not supposed to be held to any
If
standard.
anyone criticizes us, we are going to be starting a new podcast about being cancelled.
That's right.
And we're going to make so much money. It's going to be great.
Oh, I think that phrase was passed now, actually.
Really?
Anyway, they're like, oh man, and it comes to be revealed that the quadriplegic woman is going to be uploaded and killed very soon. Those are the same thing in this case.
Yeah.
With the help of a nurse who has to marry her for practical legal reasons, called Greg.
Yeah, and this is just like a follow-up to an earlier point in the episode where she mentions she's engaged, and this is why.
And the two ladies get married.
Oh,
That's right.
I'm starting to feel like the way you say ladies, it reminds me of paparazzi.
This is very serious art criticism. This is very serious. And then they have an argument in the afterlife the following week or whatever, because the one that's
notably the one who's not dead, the one who's just filled with cancer, is only allowed 5 hours a week in here. Well, if you're dead, you get full access.
Which, to be fair, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. The point of contention is that the one that's still kind of alive, still scraping in there, is like, well, but I don't want to get uploaded after I die because I had a husband and he didn't, and we lost a daughter who couldn't.
Because I don't know if the implication is that she was too young or something.
I think so. I think like the implication is that the daughter like died before the system was there. Or,
right.
Like
okay,
died
yeah,
in a way that wasn't accessible, but I think it's just a time thing. And they get very emotional, and then in the sort of during the rolling credits we found out that she changed her mind.
Yeah, she stares off into the horizon and goes like, "It turns out Eternal Sex Party Town might be pretty sick after all. I'm in."
Yeah. And we get like sort of during the credits like a shot of like this massive server room of like fantastically many people being uploaded.
Yeah.
Then we're done.
Then we're done. We have our ladies, and they're happy.
We cannot keep doing this. It'll be worse every time.
I know. I'm gonna do it like once more. Then I will let it lay low for like 25 minutes, and then I'll hit you with it again.
Thank you for foreshadowing that very explicitly.
I know.
But yeah, no. So what's this episode about?
Okay. It was about women who like each other very much
And move in together.
Yes.
Okay. While you're clearing your brain fog, let me pose a very grounded theory of this episode.
That sounds good.
So one thing that I want to get out of the way first is that Charlie Brooker just like feels the sort of obligation to be like, oh yeah, no, this is obviously like a bit ambivalent and sinister during the credits with like the big server room, but like none of the things in the episode are like that much looking in that direction, and it's very clearly resolved into favor of this is pretty good actually. So I feel like that's just Charlie Brooker like checking a box.
Maybe. I honestly do not know. I don't know, the credit scene is a very specific thing. I do not necessarily look at it as sinister. Now, in the context of Black Mirror, it's hard to not look at technology more advanced than a wheel and think, oh, Charlie Brooker is up to something sinister here. But, like, in and of itself, the cinematic language here does not strike me as sinister. It strikes me as kind of like, look at this cool, great thing we made. But it is ambiguous. And
Yeah.
I will very much agree with that.
Yeah, no. But I'm not interested in those readings at all.
No, I don't. No, not really. I, like... this is one of those things. So I will just come out. I have a very specific viewpoint on San Junipero that I think is not at all avant-garde. I hate media that just goes, life is beautiful because it's impermanent, and then just says that over and over.
Yeah, life is beautiful if you can be gay and have good sex forever.
Yeah. Like,
With your second soulmate because the first one fucked off.
I like meditations on permanence, and I like when it is not just repeating that sentence over and over, right? Because, like, I think it's very, like, listen, that is going to be very popular because currently we do just kind of die eventually.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Apart from that one guy who is, switching out all his blood plasma and posting about it on Twitter.
Oh no, he's been having some trouble, actually.
I really thought you were going to say he's dead.
Oh no, he's gonna be old and sickly for a very long time, I reckon.
That makes sense, yeah.
But he's not there yet. But no, he can't even use his son as a blood bank anymore due to complications.
Really?
Anyhow, I fully agree. I don't think going going life is permanent and that makes it beautiful is pure cope. Like, it's just...
Did you mean what you just said? That because it's permanent, it's good?
No, I mean... What I mean is that the general sentiment of life is beautiful because it's impermanent is a pure coping mechanism for the fact that it's impermanent and dying sucks.
Yes, it is, like... I don't know, I just wonder if people in the 1910s were like, man, polio is really the reason why we create art, and then the polio vaccine came around and they were like, never mind, actually, I think we're good.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, like, it is discussed during the episode, right? Because that is our... Sorry, we haven't really distinguished the two lesbians. One of them
we have the quadriplegic one and the cancer one.
True. Importantly, cancer... Okay, we can we just use their character names? I feel like that's going to get very...
I don't remember the quadriplegic's name.
Yorkie.
That's right.
Because she's a dog.
That's right.
Not an animal motif that comes
Played by
up.
Mackenzie Davis.
Played by Mackenzie Davis. Do you have any opinions on that, Jorgen?
Yes, positive ones.
Nice. Anyway, she is shy and plays arcade games. And the cancer lady is outgoing and has sex because she's bisexual.
And her name is Kelly.
Yes. I was going to introduce that too. Thank you for picking up the slack, Jorgen. I forget where I was going with this.
Where were you going with this,
I don't remember.
Anyhow, so my core thesis, I suppose, of what I think this episode is about, or at least, like, a very strong reading is that, technology really can bring people together. Isn't that nice?
I agree. I also remembered my point. I was going to say, like, they do bring up the whole, like, impermanence thing. Kelly is the one with the previous husband, and she does not, like, at first at least, thinks there is, like, kind of does espouse the, like, oh yeah, if we live forever, nothing you do here matters sort of point. So I think, like, it's a disgust, but I think it's also counter-argued and...
Well, it's like I think that the way she frames it is sort of implicitly the way it's argued against, right? Because the way she frames it is pure survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
Right? It's like...
I think that's the implication of why she frames it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think it's interesting, because I agree. The thing that strikes me about this episode is the word real, right? Because that comes up a couple of times. Like, is this place real? Like... And no, like, it literally isn't, right? Like, it's a virtual reality, blah, 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 blah. But none of that stands in the way of that connection forming being real, right? Like, that to me is the thesis statement of this episode. That's probably quite obvious, I suppose, but I like the way it says it, right? Because it, especially at the, like, early midpoint / late start, like in the first act or so, it does have a very archetypical Black Mirror sheen of, like, ooh, ain't this shit sinister? Because there's a point where Kelly punches a mirror, then looks back and sees that, like, her hand is not injured, the mirror is back to fixed. And it just has, like, a little bit of a weird vibe to it, right? Like, it, especially having watched all the other Black Mirror, it makes you feel like, oh no, it's another Hell. Charlie Brooker has done another Hell episode.
Oh, he loves Hell.
He loves Hell. But I like that they're pointing that out, that like, yes, this isn't strictly speaking real. It is not Earth as such. But that does not make what happens in it not meaningful, you know? I think that's fundamentally the point, and I think it delivers that point quite well, even. I think it discusses it. I think it discusses why that's not necessarily true. And I think it just goes with it. Like, I don't know, like, we were discussing during the episode a bit that maybe this is not the most fast-paced Black Mirror episode in the world.
Well, there aren't many.
There aren't that many. But, I don't know, like, to me, this just strikes me as a fairly well-constructed theme that is delivered efficiently, and because Charlie Brooker was like, you know how I'm going to be countercultural this time? I'm going to make a happy Black Mirror episode. He also resisted the urge to do a dumb twist.
Yeah. Well, he does like the thing that seems generally almost impossible to him, which is doing the twist in the middle of the episode.
Yes.
And then like dealing with its implications.
And I even want to say that it's built up to fairly well,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's that point where someone goes like, oh, I see you're looking for Kelly. You should try another time. Like, perhaps the 90s. And that's just like, ooh, mystery. What is going on here? Like, that is just... It is not like winking at the camera too much. It's just stating something, and it makes you interested. Like, genuinely, I think it works.
We get like a few hints dropped, like, oh yeah, no, Yorkie has car crash trauma, and so on and so forth. Like, this is just like a like formulaically well written episode. The other thing I think that this makes this episode like one of like Charlie Brooker's prescient moments is that going to the very current time, we have a lot of debates about social media bans for particularly like young kids. Like up to 16 is like the thing that sort of tends to be in circulation. Australia has passed one recently that is impossible to enforce, and there's a lot of like privacy implications of how you would even conceivably be able to do such a thing without checking the age of everyone who is on the internet. And one of the major counter-arguments that is advanced against this sort of approach at all is that it is particularly harmful to like queer youth, because queer youth have a very strong tendency of finding community online because they do not reliably have a chance to find community like in their physical communities.
Yeah, and I want to say, I think there's even like a... I don't know how much of this is straight up intentional. I kind of want to say I don't think it is. There's a almost, like, by Black Mirror standards, actually subtle sort of allegory for this, right, with Yorkie. Because what we haven't mentioned is that she gets car crashed into being a quadriplegic premium when she comes out to her religious parents in, I want to say, like the 80s or 90s, maybe. Like, it's hard to say exactly when this happened. They don't state like what the current time is, but like, point is, her condition is a result of essentially abuse, right? Like, it's I kind of think it's weird that they frame it like a little bit like, oh, she was sad, and like, I don't know, like, I don't know if you picked up on this or if this is me imagining things, but they go like, she had an argument with her parents, and then she was in a car crash because she was emotional after this. And I'm just kind of like, that's a weird way to have like a framing of she was severely wounded after coming out to her parents about being gay, who disapproved of her heavily.
I don't know. Like, it makes sense to me. Like,
okay.
You know, like people like going for a drive, like to get your like.
No, I'm with
straight.
you. I'm just
like that is a thing, and
for
driving
sure.
like under the influence of strong emotions is very hazardous.
I understand that. It's just, I don't know, there's something about that rings a bit strangely to me, but perhaps that's just a personal thing. But the point is, like, I think it's an interesting look at, right, like, as you say, if we're talking about, like, fostering connections using technology, right, like, to reach out, like, we have a very strong allegory here of a queer woman who, as a result of her sexuality, is isolated from her family and everyone around her, using technology to find like-minded people, to find love in particular, and to just get to exist as herself, right? Like there's a couple of points where she outright says, like, oh, you wouldn't like me for who I actually am in real life. They don't say real life, but, you know, we get the implication here, right? You wouldn't like me the way I am, like, if you were to actually come visit me. There is a part of me that does feel like this episode is very trans in a way.
Oh yeah, this episode is about the trans Discord server.
Yeah.
This episode is about the Discord server where all the eggs and trans women congregate. And
Yeah, you know,
I don't know, do trans men use Discord or are they still on Tumblr?
TikTok, I've heard, is a big
Really?
I don't know, and I think the more time passes, the more these kind of leak into each other anyway.
Well,
But no,
that's
I think
probably
there's
good.
Yeah, there's a lot of trans men on Discord as well. Anyway. But yeah, like, it is a very powerful allegory, right? In a sense that, like, yeah, if you look at what happens, like, yeah, this woman gets to live, like, a real life and is genuinely happy as a result.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at it from that perspective, there's also an argument that, like, Kelly being bound by essentially survivor's guilt, as you say, to her husband and to her daughter and, like, that family. Also, I don't know, like, it has quite implications, right? Of being like, I cannot be with you, my lady love, because I still have memories of my husband. There's stuff going on there, right? About like kind of not heterofatalism. What am I thinking of? You know, like compulsive heterosexuality, essentially, right?
Yeah. Though, like, in her case, it is like less like compet and more like emotional commitment.
Yes, no,
which
for sure. Like, in the actual story, in the actual universe.
But it evokes those things, absolutely.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think it's very interesting. I'm surprised Charlie Brooker wrote this, and I mean that...
Charlie Brooker wrote this episode alone.
Yes, it's stunning, right?
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
And on top of that, this is some prime lesbian yearning material from the very start.
Yeah, like, he does, like, have a few lines that are a bit cheesy.
Oh, yeah.
And I do sort of begrudge him that. But, like, generally speaking, like, the cinematography, like, this is, like, this gets the point across well.
Like, that's the thing, too, is that, like, the amount of cheese in this, like, ooh, being with another woman, how novel. I don't know, I see that shit in, like, stuff written by lesbians, perhaps, you know, like, stuff written by those who are still kind of struggling with their identity, but still, right? Like, it is totally within the margin of error of something, like, I think a queer woman could have written.
Well,
and that's
Charlie
fascinating.
is a gender-neutral name.
Are we gonna transvestigate Charlie Brooker?
I think we're investigating
I
Charlie
guess.
Brooker.
Wait, what was his real name? Like, do you remember the
Charlton.
Like... Charlton. Oh.
I think so. I'm not certain.
Oh.
It's too insane.
God, that's beautiful.
But, you
so
know.
Anyway, yeah, Charlie Brooker is trans, and that's where we're ending the episode. Someone sneak estrogen into his house and just see what happens. Okay, anyway. But no, like, genuinely, I don't know where this comes from, you know?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't think Charlie Brooker is bad at writing women, and that is a genuine compliment, because when Charlie Brooker has been in the pop culture scene, there's been a lot of men who write women weirdly, like, say,
Yeah.
a certain Wheaton, a certain agriculture-based boy who was popular around this time.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's right. This is before Joss Whedon was cancelled.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I genuinely want to give him a compliment. This came out in 2016, 2015.
Like I was saying, like, this is Charlie Brooker, like, at his most prescient.
For sure.
And it's wild.
It's fascinating. Just like I don't know. Like I do want to say to you, just like Charlie Brooker is completely solid at writing women for the most part, and like he does have his tendency to put sort of casual sex scenes as like just part of the build-up of plot.
They were surprisingly restrained in this one.
Yes, right? And this is a time where I think you could get away with some lesbian exploitation films still, right? Like, it's starting to get to the end of it, but, like, very much still totally open and very restrained at it, as you say. Like, it's genuinely kind of impressive. And I wanted to pose that to me, this is about what Charlie Brooker could do if he hadn't, like, I don't know, watched M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, there is still a twist.
There is
Like,
still a twist, but it's a fine one.
I do think this episode is, like, very important in the grander scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you were to do, like, I don't know, like the Black Mirror documentary, like, focusing on this episode to find out why things go right sometimes would probably be quite valuable.
Yeah, and I mean, we are the ones doing the Black Mirror documentary, aren't we?
Yeah, we get all the behind-the-scenes access.
Look, I'm just saying, I want us, I think before this podcast ends, we should at least try emailing Charlie Brooker about some stuff. I don't know what, but I want to have that out there before our, like, final recap episode. But, you know, like, okay, there's, like, I don't know, I kind of feel like I've gotten my vibes out about the episode itself, and there's a part of me that wants to ask, how did they write this? Get, like, such a, I think, a pretty monumentally good critical response, and then, you know, stuff continued happening, and they made Maisie Day, they made,
Beyond the Sea.
They made a lot of things.
I do just think, well, I guess this will be, like, more of a recap discussion, but, like, I do think Charlie Brooker is just, like, a lot of the time either overworked and not trying very hard. No, that's probably mainly it, actually. I think that's mostly what's happening a lot of the time, and with this one, he was like, you know what, I'm gonna put in some extra elbow grease to make the lesbian episode not suck. I think that might be, to some degree, what is behind this.
Maybe.
Content-wise, there is one point that I find very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, this episode is, like, quite radical, I want to say, and it's, like, in like, sort of an almost dogmatic affirmation of, like, these mediated relationships as, like, categorically real.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that very, I think, like, it makes sense to me as a political statement in a way, but I find it, like, quite interesting in the context of, like, a world where, like, Discord isn't, like, quite as nice as, like, hanging out with someone in person. And that's a very interesting choice to me. Like people in long distance relationships all know that it's nicer. It's nicer to be in the same place as someone else.
Yeah.
And, like,
but that is one thing they don't actually tackle, do they? They only do it for metaphor.
And that is fascinating to me.
Like,
that choice.
Because I think it is essentially finding, like, a counterpoint, right? Like, it is not about saying, you know what? One person being in Australia, the other being in Oman, totally fine. Like, just like, that's totally chill and very easy to have a relationship like that. I think it is finding the point of saying, like, stuff that happens online is not real.
Yeah.
And, like, that is a very different, like, statement, right? Than saying it's equally enjoyable. Because I think that's not what it's about.
Yes, let me pull on a related thread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, San Junipero is like an isolated place in a way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are no DMs in San Junipero.
Yeah.
Like, there is no implication that, like, dead people are, like, on the internet posting. Right? Like, it is very much presented to us as a place that is quite difficult to access and can only be accessed through, like, the full experience. You can't be, like, calling up someone in, like, the 70s from the 90s and go, hey, why did you ditch me?
Yeah.
Can we meet up in the 80s?
There's an interesting point there, yeah. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know what that says, apart from the vibes.
Well, like, I do think it is primarily relevant through the vibes, but I feel like there's some, like, it's a meaningful choice, and not just for plot structure, right? I think it might be constructed in that way because it lends more reality to the place.
I think that's one aspect. I think like maybe the other thing to discuss on that front is just how like I don't know, like to me, despite how obviously like you can find each other very easily across the internet in a lot of ways. If you have someone's profile name on one site, you can just kind of like Google them, like try to find others, blah blah blah. Like if you do the sleuthing, it's not that hard, right? But simultaneously, I think it's very very easy to lose track of people, like on the internet, right? Like there are people who I spoke to daily who I now have no idea what's happened with them, right? And then that's just it, right? Like, and I think because at the end of the day, like people might have gone off to do other things. People may have stopped using the internet that much. Like, there's all sorts of things that can happen. And I think that's sort of like... I think it is like a slightly existential fear that Yorkie is going through when she hunts down her fellow lady across the time span.
Like, what if she got hit by... Like, that is just, like, something I sometimes think when I, like, look at my Steam friends list.
Yeah.
Which I, like, haven't added anyone to in, like, a decade. Because it's no longer, like... a social medium.
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, look at it sometimes and wonder, like, I wonder if all of these people are still alive.
Yeah.
And the answer might be no, and I probably will never find out.
Yeah.
Eventually, it will definitely be no.
Yeah, like, I mean, just, like, looking at that scene in particular, like, there's certainly, like, an existential fear there of, like, yeah, this person who I thought I had, like, a genuine, real connection with, or who I had one with, might just be gone. Like, she might have just decided to not log on to San Junipero anymore. And that would be it. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of that relationship, right? Like, both of them, if you live in the same town, and you go and you make out outside of the bar, like, you might be able to, like, literally go to that person's house, knock on their front door, and they'll be like, oh shit, it's you.
Well, the other thing is, like, you might run into each other in the supermarket.
Also that, yeah, and it's much harder for that to happen on the internet, right?
Yeah, and, like, I guess the internet is sort of, like, the very far end of a scale that, like, starts at, like, small town, goes to big city, and ends at, like, the internet. Because, like, the internet is, like, the biggest place in that way.
And I think, yeah, like it's a very interesting, like, fear of that sort of relationship, like, being reflected, right? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting... I wonder how much of that is intentional, right?
I mean, like, I don't think it's, like, intentionally, like, very constructed, but I do think, like, in, like, committing to, like, treating San Junipero as a real place that is distinct and segmented, like, Charlie, like, we do hit, like, a lot of, like, beats that are, like...
naturalistic in how
by choosing things that are actually true about the internet for them to also true about San Junipero, you arrive at other things merging in the same way.
Yeah, and I think, like, it does add, like, just a really interesting edge to this whole thing where, like, both of these people have the option to just disappear.
Yeah.
Like, I would say...
Until they don't. Until they, like, go, like, no, I'm here. I'm in Houston.
But even then, you can jump across, like, like in real life?
Yes.
I suppose, yeah.
Because, like, they do, like, end up going, like, here's where my physical body is located.
Yeah. But one of them does not have the ability to really utilize that.
No.
But yeah, like, I don't know, like, it's a very interesting reflection of that particular, like, ability to just be like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly enough, reminds me of dating apps, right? Like, because in a little bit, I was gonna, like, kind of compare this to Hang the DJ, and obviously this one is better because it involves the ladies.
There's one lesbian, or one, I guess, bisexual relationship in Hang the DJ.
Oh yeah, that's true, I forgot about that. But yeah, like, I don't know, it's an interesting comparison, because it kind of feels like they're pulling the same threads. Like, I almost want to say that Hang the DJ feels like they were like, we're gonna rewrite this, it's gonna be virtual romance, it's gonna be them, like, rebelling against something a little bit, and it's gonna be a happy ending. I think one of the biggest things that hits me about this episode is that the conflict is entirely, like, intrapersonal, right? Like, there is no big, like, we gotta tear down the evil, like, I don't know.
No, this episode is utopian.
This episode's entirely utopian.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fascinating how much Charlie Brooker can do with that.
Yeah, like, because, and, like, this is, like, sort of something that people talk about with Star Trek. It's like, oh, you know, you gotta make it, like, dark to, like, still find conflicts. And, like, this one is like, well, you know, people are still people in utopia.
Yeah, and it allows you to actually focus on, like, those fears, those, like the survivor's guilt of Kelly, like the fear of impermanence of, like, Kelly being, like, a quadriplegic in the real world, like...
It's Yorkie.
Fuck. Damn it. Yes, Yorkie, and like her being unable to interact, and, like, the fear of Kelly getting to know her real self, quote unquote, and stuff like that. Like, it clears the field, and it takes away so much dumb shit. And I'm not saying... Listen, I am very pretentious by nature, but I am not saying this is how it has to be done, and that monsters are inherently bad for any story. But I can't look at this and look at, like, Maisie Day or Smithereens or anything else and be like, yeah, Charlie Brooker does his best work when there is a clear antagonist. No, man, this shit's great, and he wrote it on his own.
Yeah. Like, another thing I think, like, makes the story quite special is that, like, it is a queer story, and it does, like, just, like, have, like, a little bit of hints of, like, adversity. But, like, the sort of utopian angle does just, like, clear that away. Right? It's like, oh, yeah, no, this is a utopian story. Like, sure, the adversity's, like, in the past, but, like, the adversity's gone now. Like, all you need to do is, like, find peace with your heart.
There's an interesting aspect of that, right? Of, like arguably, you could view this as essentially a story about the transition into the utopia, right? Like, about the last generations of people with trauma.
Yeah.
With imperfections being like, oh, I get to be without that. Or, like, I get to live where that no longer has to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a really interesting take on it, right? Like, it's a very interesting sort of fold of story that I think is very rarely explored, right? Like, and I can understand why, because it really does feel like there's very little conflict in it, in its grand abstraction, but San Junipero does it very well. Like, I think that shows that, like, yeah, these are conflicts within ourselves, conflicts about our nature and processing our narratives of our lives. And what do we do with that?
Yeah, no, like, in a sense, it does just feel like a very, like, fruitful spot to, like, explore sort of, like, very internal stories, because like there are no systemic issues, like, that are even hinted at. Like, no, like, it's good, right?
It's good.
And so, like, the systemic issues have been cleaned away so we can, like, focus on ourselves. And that is, like, there's something, like, sort of, like, a bit alien about that, but it's like a very forceful device.
I think, like, I almost wonder, like, what San Junipero would be like if it was just not part of Black Mirror at all. Like, because we come into this, and, like, yes, we both had seen this episode before, but even then, like, just knowing the context of what show this is in, you're sitting there and going, when is the bad thing gonna happen? Like, when is the big twist coming? Like, when is it like, oh yeah, San Junipero is like entirely based on recycled children's souls that are being sucked out of a big vat.
I guess in a way the big twist is that everything's fine.
Yes.
Right, the twist is that, oh fuck, I forgot not Yorkie's name.
Kelly.
That Kelly does, like, choose to, like, enter San Junipero, right?
Yeah, that she overcomes, like, her survivor skill.
Because like, that is not like revealed until, like, some credits have already rolled.
Yeah. It is good. I don't know, to me, like, admittedly, I remember the ending, so I'm literally cheating here. But I did think, because she says something along the lines, okay, I'm ready to, like, get on with the rest of it. Like, as she's, like, considering her impending mortality. I don't know, like, that to me is a pretty strong hint, I guess. And that, but admittedly, that is 5 seconds before the credits, so I'm really inching this one out.
Like, we are, like, we do sit with conflict until the very end of it. Like, we get to see utopia, sort of, like, through a smudged lens, and then, like, once utopia is reached, the story sort of escapes our grasp.
Yeah. I think it's a cool episode, Jorgen.
Yeah.
I think it's a very neat episode.
Yeah. A bit slow, but,
It's a bit slow. I think, if I'm going to direct one criticism of this episode, I think if you're not a lesbian, I think the start of this romance is a bit weak, because I kind of look at the two of them and go, I don't know why you two like each other.
Oh, I mean, I don't think we're supposed to care.
No, I don't think we're supposed to care, and I do think, like, once it gets going, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, I'm into this. Like, they have interesting conflict, they have interesting commonalities, like, sure. I just think that the absolute start is a bit like they're trying to do a meet cute, but it's not very cute, and then they're just like, I like you. And I'm just like, okay, sure. Which, like, listen, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that's okay. Sometimes people are just like, man, you're hot.
I mean, they do just sort of power through it by, like, the cinematic language of, like, these two being fully entranced with each other dancing. Right, like, there's some intense eye contact with the camera from
Yes.
both of them.
It is powerful. Like, the cinematography sells it. I'm just like, on the emotion level, I'm kind of like, what's going on here? But, again, I think that's a relatively minor criticism.
Yeah, no, I think on the emotion level, what we're supposed to take away is, like, a beautiful woman likes me, little old me. And I think that is just, like, the way this is sold.
I suppose.
Like, that is the cinematic language telling us, like, oh, look,
Lady.
recognition. Like, intense eye contact. That is all we're given. That is all they, like,
And,
deploy.
like, what I will say is that, like, I think this is me criticizing it for that. It still clears probably like 80% of the average heterosexual romance in media. So, like,
Well, you know, Sturgeon's law.
yeah, Stalin's law. So, like, I can't, like, I'm not gonna levy extra criticism just because this is a lesbian one where they do a kind of similar thing.
Yeah, no. One thing I feel like we should at least briefly touch on, like, they do have the head chips they also have in Striking Vipers.
I think that's intentional. I swear, isn't it Striking Vipers where they have a reference to San Junipero? Like, someone says, like, oh, like that the place where the old people get uploaded to. Like, it's in some episode, I swear to God.
It's somewhere.
Yeah, I just wondering if, I think it might be Striking
Like,
Vipers.
it is the Striking Vipers technology, which,
Yeah.
like, those are, like, a very strange duology.
Wait, okay, so, you know...
Because they're also both gay.
They're very good. It's the queer chip. It's just a chip that makes you queer, Jorgen.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we're uploading you to a virtual world, and we're turning the little sexuality knob a bit, potentially the gender identity knob, but we're not going to explore that further in Striking Vipers. It's just, you know, we're throwing in some spice to make your afterlife. Look, I'm just saying, Jorgen, this posits, like, the possibility that we upload old people to San Junipero and young people who die get to go to Striking Viper's sex land. And that is canon, I have decided.
I do like the imagined sort of culture war between, like, the people eventually coming into San Junipero who weren't just, like, in regular reality for all of their life, but who are like, no, this is like Striking Vipers, right? We get to, like, fight and fuck.
Where's the polar bear character?
No, you can't go there. But yeah, no. So, what a baffling duology. I feel I think that's one for the recap episode, or maybe we could just, like, have our own discussion episode on those two in combination.
Yeah, it's sure it's an analysis, isn't it? Look, it's just beautiful that in both of these, we kiss the homies on the mouth. In this case, it's the roomies.
Kind of. Yeah, the homies and the roomies. Heterosexually.
Also, I do want to give a shout out. This episode kind of had a weird guy.
It had two weird guys.
Are you thinking Wes or?
Yeah, I think Wes is a.
Nah. Nah,
Yeah,
he's
you're right. You're right. Wes isn't the weird guy.
No, he's just a dude. He's just a fella.
Yeah, we have the arcade gamer who is unfortunately stricken with a lesbian.
Yeah.
Which, like, my deep condolences, bud.
But it's very cute, and like he's very respectful. He just wants to play a racing game, and
which is like he really hit a landmine by accident there.
Yeah, like that's not on him. He tries his best, and he's like in every decade.
You know,
he's in at least like 3 of them, I think.
I mean, they are like sequential. He like jumps around too. I
think it is fun that he's like in. They go to 2002, I think it is, with Alanis Morissette. No, the other one. Shit, I forget. But they go to like playing DDR, and he's there going out with the bisexual lady, and he doesn't seem attracted to her whatsoever. He's just like, yeah, gaming buddy.
Yeah, no, but
I don't know why. It's just like a fun characterization, because I feel like it's very easy to just be like, yeah, this is a man, and he's like, ooh, pretty ladies. But no, he's hyper focused.
I mean, I do read him as interested in Yorkie.
Kelly?
Yorkie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in 2002, he's dancing with Kelly.
Yeah. But I read him as not interested in Kelly, but interested in Yorkie.
That's what I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why did you frame it as...
Well, you know, I do think there is still, like, some romance thing being done with him. Just...
How?
Not... Well, he's interested in Yorkie.
That's not a romance, that's infatuation.
Yeah, which is a part of the larger ballpark of romance. Like, I don't know. I do think, like, this episode suffers a bit from, like, having fairly weak side stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, there isn't any side stuff, essentially. There's Greg.
Greg's good.
Greg's good.
Wes isn't. Wes is just sort of around.
I think Wes is there to imply that this is going to be a love triangle story, and then it just isn't.
Maybe. Which, if so...
I guess it's meant to foreshadow Kelly's attachment issues.
Yeah. It's just a lot of screen time on a boring character.
Yeah. And one where you know exactly where he is for, essentially. There's a moment where you kind of go like, oh, maybe he's a bit sympathetic. Maybe Kelly is like a heart-stomping bitch.
I mean, she kind of is.
Well, yeah, she is. But he's right, but like, he's still weird about it, you know? Like, I don't know, like, she doesn't... Okay. I think, if we're gonna get into the goss, I feel like Kelly is way worse towards Yorkie than she is towards Wes, right? Like, with Wes, she is patiently explaining, I do not want to be with you, man, repeatedly. And to Yorkie, she goes, I'm gonna see you, or like, I'm never gonna see you again. I'm gonna be 2 decades hence. Go to hell.
Well, I suppose the sort of clear implication of that is like, well, she is just being honest with Wes.
Yeah.
Who does not have a chance in hell.
Yeah, because there's no greater emotional attachment. I'm just saying, she's a problematic queen.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think that saying is popular anymore.
No.
I didn't get to say it when it was popular, okay?
I don't know when it was popular.
I know,
there
like
is
2019.
there is like the sequence when they like jump through the time periods and have to extremely quickly signify which time period we're in.
I think it works. Like, it's
I
not
am,
subtle.
I didn't know Alanis Morissette's Ironic was from 95.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I thought it was extremely recent because there was discourse about it in the 2010s.
I'm sorry, Jorgen.
And yeah, the only one that really worked for me was this is the 1980 car. Because they had the number 1980 and I was like, got it. Not very subtle, but effective. The other ones, I was like, when did this movie come out?
I do think they should have pulled out some, like, just one disco scene. Like, it didn't even have to be an entire exploration. It just, I wanted to see them in, like, the big afro, like, doing the sweet moves on the dance floor.
There is also just, like, a neat bit of, like, oh, yeah, no. We get to see these people in different outfits.
It is good. It appeals to me, personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, good episode. Yeah, watch this episode. Like, it's just good.
Yeah.
You know, don't expect too much action, I guess, but definitely drama.
Yeah.
and cool stuff. Honestly, like, it's weird. I kind of thought... I guess this says a lot about our podcast, but I thought I would enjoy this episode less as a result of having had this discussion. But you know what? No. Gosh darn it. I like it. I like it more.
Yeah, no, like, thinking about this being the only good Black Mirror episode has elevated it in my eyes.
Oh, it's not even that. I just feel like the exploration of the themes. Like, it made,
Yeah,
me,
no,
it
like-
made it feel more coherent.
Like, genuinely, I'm staggered by Charlie Brooker just going like, oh, yeah, no, this is the internet, it's important to queer people.
Yeah.
And it's extremely real, and every friend you have
I-
online is your friend,
I just
for real.
wish he wrote about black people as well as he wrote about lesbians.
Well, you know, he's not transracial, he's just transgender.
And that's it, folks! Why did you have to do that? Like, I feel like we were really sailing into, like, past the finish line very eloquently. We had fun, and then you pull out some shit like that.
For the record, I don't think Charlie Brooker is trans. Though,
Not-
you
not
know,
yet.
if you're in Britain, I guess, if you're in Britain and a media personality, you would just hide that shit. Like, if
That's
you're,
actually a very good point.
if you're 40 years old in Britain, he's going on 50, isn't he?
I think he's past 50. I think he's like 54.
Yeah, no, you know. But, you know, you have that Netflix money, you can emigrate.
He is, like, I'm not going to do math, 53.
Hot damn.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could get some stuff
You
going
can
on.
still leave Britain at 53.
Yeah.
You can get out
When,
of it.
when can you no longer leave Britain?
Oh, it's when you're too feeble to swim across the channel.
It's true.
Which, you know, get in shape, everyone. It
Get
might get
in-
important.
Yes, that's less about the UK currently and more about the US. But anyway, ending on a bright note, really, huh? So, next up, we have Men Against Fire.
And then we will be back in the zone of episodes I've never seen before.
Yeah,
And this time, I think we'll stay there. I don't think I've seen any more Black Mirror episodes.
okay, very interesting. We have reached a milestone of sorts. Yeah, I don't think this is one of those episodes that have any notable notoriety. It's just going to be an episode, and then we'll have to delve
We've
into
had
it.
a lot of this season.
I don't know. To me, Nosedive is pretty infamous. Well,
Interesting.
because it's the most phone bad episode. Like, it's the most condensed phone bad episode. Anyway, yes, so that's going to be next week. Series 3, Episode 5. We're coming up on the end of Season 3.
2 more episodes left, is that right?
That is correct. We have Men Against Fire, and then Hated in the Nation.
That has, like, a certain cadence to it.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
You're scaring me.
Thank
Anyway, stay safe out there, everyone. Remember to upload your mind to the good Matrix, not the bad one. The
And-
one that's gay.
And yeah, get ready for the queering chips.
Yeah, the chip that makes you live forever, but bisexual at least. Get ready to kiss the homies in the afterlife.
Thank you for this week, y'all.
Farewell.